Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English with Podcast. My name is Nikki.
And I'm Tony. We're super excited to have you here today. How are you, Nikki?
I'm doing great, Tony. Today, we have a fantastic topic for our listeners. We're going to talk about common expressions part 2.
Yes, that's right. We'll talk about 8 common expressions today. We'll explain what they mean and how to use them. Then, we'll listen to some dialogues where people use these expressions.
This is going to be fun and really helpful for anyone learning English. Let's start with the first 2 expressions. Cut corners and burn the midnight oil.
Great choice, Nikki. Let's explain these expressions first. So, cut corners means to do something in the easiest, cheapest, or fastest way, which usually leads to poor results. For example, if you cut corners on a project, you might finish it quickly, but it might not be done well.
Yes, that's a good explanation. Now, burn the midnight oil means to stay up late working on something. You use this expression when you stay up very late to finish a task.
Exactly. I remember when I was in school, I often burned the midnight oil to finish my homework. Not the best habit, but sometimes necessary.
Me too, Tony. I once cut corners on a school project and got a bad grade. I learned my lesson the hard way.
So true, Nikki. Now, let's hear a conversation where people use these expressions. Pay attention to how they use cut corners and burn the midnight oil.
Hey, have you finished your part of the project?
Not yet. I had to burn the midnight oil last night just to complete the research.
Wow, you must be tired. I tried to cut corners and finish quickly, but it didn't work out well.
Yeah, cutting corners usually leads to problems. You need to take your time.
I know. I got a bad grade last time because I cut corners.
That's tough. Well, let's make sure we don't cut corners this time. We can meet again tonight and work together.
Good idea. I don't mind burning the midnight oil again if it means doing a good job.
Same here. Let's meet at 8 p.m. and finish it properly.
Sounds good. See you then.
That was a great conversation. Did you hear how they used cut corners and burn the midnight oil?
Yes, it was clear. Henry tried to cut corners and had problems, while Ashley burned the midnight oil to do a good job.
Exactly. It's important to understand that cutting corners can lead to poor results, while burning the midnight oil means working hard, even if it's late.
Right, Nikki. I think we should all try not to cut corners in our work and be ready to burn the midnight oil when needed.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the next 2 expressions. The ball is in your court and hit the sack. Let's start with, the ball is in your court. This means it's your turn to take action or make a decision. It's like in tennis, where the ball is in your side of the court, so you need to hit it.
Yes, it's your responsibility to do something next. For example, if someone offers you a job and you need to decide if you want it, the ball is in your court.
Exactly. Now, hit the sack means to go to bed. When you're very tired and ready to sleep, you hit the sack.
I love this expression. After a long day, I can't wait to hit the sack.
Me too, Tony. Last night I worked late and couldn't wait to hit the sack.
All right, let's listen to a conversation where people use these expressions. Pay attention to how they use the ball is in your court and hit the sack.
Did you hear back from the job interview?
Yes, they offered me the job. Now, the ball is in my court. I need to decide if I want it.
That's exciting. What are you going to do?
I think I'll take it, but I need to sleep on it. I'm so tired. I just want to hit the sack.
Yeah, you should rest. Big decisions need a clear mind.
Exactly. I'll hit the sack now and think about it in the morning.
Good idea. The ball is in your court, but you don't have to decide right away.
Thanks. I'll feel better after a good night's sleep.
All right, good night. Hit the sack and get some rest.
Good night.
That was a great example. Did you hear how they used the ball is in your court and hit the sack?
Yes, it was very clear. Jason said the ball is in their court when they need to decide about the job, and they also said they wanted to hit the sack because they were tired.
Exactly. It's important to know when it's your turn to act and also when to take a break and rest.
Right, Nikki. Making decisions is easier when you're well rested. I always hit the sack early if I have a big decision to make the next day.
Good advice, Tony. All right, let's move on to the next two expressions. On the same page and bend over backwards.
Great. We'll talk about two more common expressions, on the same page and bend over backwards.
Let's start with on the same page. This means that everyone agrees or understands the same thing. It's like when you and your friend are reading the same page of a book. You're both in the same place.
Yes, exactly. For example, when you and your team at work understand the plan, you're all on the same page.
That's right. Now, bend over backwards means to do everything you can to help someone. Imagine trying to bend your back in a very difficult way to make someone happy.
Yes, you go out of your way to help. For example, if your friend needs help moving and you do everything to help them, you bend over backwards.
Perfect examples, Tony. Now, let's listen to a conversation where people use these expressions. Pay attention to how they use on the same page and bend over backwards.
We need to make sure we're on the same page about the project.
Yes, I agree. Let's go over the plan again.
All right, we need to finish the report by Friday.
Got it. I will bend over backwards to make sure it's done on time.
Thank you. I know you always bend over backwards to help the team.
No problem. As long as we're on the same page, we can do it.
Yes, let's meet every day to stay on the same page.
Good idea. That way, we won't miss anything.
Okay. Let's start today. Are you free this afternoon?
Yes, I am. Let's meet at 2 p.m.
Perfect. See you then.
That was a great example. Did you hear how they used on the same page and bend over backwards?
Yes. It was clear. George and Christy talked about being on the same page for the project, and Christy said they would bend over backwards to finish the report.
Exactly. It's important to make sure everyone understands the plan, and sometimes you need to bend over backwards to get things done.
Right, Nikki. I think it's great when teams are on the same page. It makes everything easier.
And having people who bend over backwards to help is always a plus.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next two expressions. A blessing in disguise and a best of both worlds.
Let's start with a blessing in disguise. This means something that seems bad at first, but turns out to be good later. Imagine something that looks like a problem but is actually a good thing.
Yes. For example, if you miss a bus but then meet an old friend while waiting for the next one, it's a blessing in disguise.
That's a great example, Tony. Now, the best of both worlds means you get the benefits of two different things at the same time. It's like enjoying two good things together.
Right. For example, if you work from home, you can have the comfort of home and the benefits of a job. That's the best of both worlds.
Perfect examples. Now, let's listen to a conversation where people use these expressions. Pay attention to how they use a blessing in disguise and the best of both worlds.
I was really upset when I didn't get the job, but it was a blessing in disguise.
Really? How so?
Well, I found a better job a week later. It's closer to home and pays more.
That's great. It really was a blessing in disguise.
Yes, I'm so happy now. I have the best of both worlds, a good job and more time at home.
That sounds perfect. You're lucky.
Thanks. Sometimes bad things can lead to good outcomes.
Yes, it's true. You never know what might be a blessing in disguise.
Exactly. I'm glad everything worked out for the best.
Me too. It's important to stay positive.
Yes, always look for the best of both worlds.
Great advice. Let's celebrate your new job.
That was a great example. Did you hear how they used a blessing in disguise and the best of both worlds?
Yes, it was clear. George talked about not getting a job, which seemed bad, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because they found a better job. And they also said they have the best of both worlds. A good job and more time at home.
Exactly. It's important to stay positive and look for good things even in bad situations. Sometimes bad events can lead to something good.
Right, Nikki. I think it's a great mindset to have. Finding the best of both worlds can make life much more enjoyable.
Now, let's do a quick review of the 8 common expressions we've talked about today.
Great idea, Nikki. Let's start with cut corners. This means to do something in the easiest, cheapest, or fastest way, often leading to poor results. In our dialogue, Henry tried to cut corners on a project and it didn't work out well.
Yes. And then we had burn the midnight oil, which means staying up late to work on something. Ashley said they had to burn the midnight oil to complete their research.
Next, we talked about the ball is in your court. This means it's your turn to take action or make a decision. In the dialogue, Jason mentioned that after being offered a job, the ball was in their court to decide what to do next.
Right. And hit the sack means to go to bed. Jason said they were so tired they just wanted to hit the sack.
Then, we discussed on the same page, which means everyone agrees or understands the same thing. In our example, George and Christy made sure they were on the same page about their project.
Exactly. And bend over backwards means to do everything you can to help someone. Christy said they would bend over backwards to finish the report on time.
We also covered a blessing in disguise, which is something that seems bad at first but turns out to be good later. George didn't get a job he wanted, but it was a blessing in disguise because they found a better one later.
Finally, the best of both worlds means enjoying the benefits of 2 different things at the same time. George found a job that was closer to home and paid more, giving them the best of both worlds.
Great recap, Nikki. These expressions are really useful and can help make your English sound more natural.
Absolutely, Tony. And remember, practice makes perfect. Try to use these expressions in your daily conversations.
That's right, Nikki. The more you use them, the more comfortable you'll become.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of English with Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this language learning journey.
We had a blast discussing these common expressions with you all, and we hope you found them helpful for improving your English skills.
Absolutely. Remember, the key to mastering any language is practice, practice, and practice. So, don't hesitate to use these expressions in your conversations.
That's right. And for even more practice and learning, be sure to tune in to English with Podcast every day. We're here to help you become more fluent in English.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, give us a like, and share it with your friends who are also learning English. Your support means the world to us.
Indeed. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep listening to Learn English with Podcast.
See you soon, everyone.